Hey guys, welcome back to the old mill shed. So after last episode where we adjusted the rocker arms, put on a new valve cover gasket, retorqued the head bolts for the 25-hour after the engine rebuild, we got to change oil in this thing because we have opened the engine up and it's getting close to the normal oil change that we would do anyway. So let's get to it. So to perform this, the oil change, changing of the air filter, and the gas filter, you're going to need an 11/16 inch open end box end wrench. I prefer one that has a ratchet on the closed end. A 15/16 inch wrench. This is for the oil drain plug at the bottom of the oil pan. Obviously, a roll of rags. A canister style oil filter. This particular one is a Wix 5-10-10. You will need 5 quarts of 1030 motor oil. Use a high quality oil. I prefer Valvoline for this machine. And even though I've often ran conventional motor oils, they're getting harder to find. So I'm running a synthetic blend. And then for the oil bath filter, the air filter, you want to use a quart of conventional 1030 motor oil. And we'll explain why it needs to be conventional later on. So we're on the left side of the tractor, looking from the outside towards the bottom of the oil pan, and here is your oil drain plug. Now understand why they put the drain plug in such a hard place to get to. It keeps you from hitting it in the field, opening it up or anything. There would have been better ways to do that. They could have put it on the side, welded a piece of pipe around it or something. Some of the aftermarket oil pans actually have that design. But this takes a 15/16 inch wrench, and so we're going to put an oil pan under here and drain the oil out. Now I have already warmed this motor up, so it should flow fairly easily. And when you're done, just make sure you snug this up good. Don't overly tighten it. So your oil filter sits in this canister right here. It's just behind your alternator, just below your carburetor, right behind your radius rods. And it takes a 7/8 inch wrench, 11/16 inch wrench. So you just break that loose. And it is common for a lot of your 50s and 60s tractors to have canister oil filters on, and that's what a lot of automobiles used during that time as well. So your cap is spring loaded to hold the cartridge back against the part where it comes out of the engine. Don't forget to remove the old O-ring. Here's the cap that sits up against the cartridge filter. It's got a little spring in it to hold it up tight. And when you install your cartridges, there's a one end that'll have a little handle on it. Oh, this thing's tight. And the reason you install it with that little handle out, little piece of wire right there, is to make it easier to pull out of the assembly. Now once you get that out, run your finger in on the bottom here and see what you pull out of it. I don't see any metal shavings. A little bit of grit. Not much. I don't see anything in here. Well, there's a little bit of a metal shaving there. Probably from where I put the new rings in it. But being on a new engine, I would expect to see a lot more than that. But go ahead and wipe it all out. Inspect it as you pull it out. Not really seeing much of anything. A few little small little specks here and there. All in all, it looks pretty good. Okay, so we've got the inside of the canister cleaned out. I actually shoved some rags up in there, ran them around with a wrench, pulled them all back out. Make sure you don't leave anything up in there. I've cleaned off the inside of the cap. So you want to use a Wix 51010. I'm sure there's other manufacturers out there. You just have to cross-reference the number. We always used Wix when I was growing up, so I just stuck with them as an adult. You want to take your new O-ring here. What I do is just take a little dab of motor oil and coat both sides of it. Just put a little thin layer of motor oil. Stick that in the cap right there. Make sure it's flat. You take your cartridge, the little wire pull goes towards the cap, and just slide it over that center post. Work it up on there until it seats all the way back. So I can get a little bit better view of that. There you go. Want to make sure that seats all the way back in there. And then just place your cap. Make sure the O-ring doesn't fall out. I usually put the bottom on first so I can put the little plunger over the post. Put the bottom on, guide that little spring plunger on. And then run your bolt in and snug it. Again, you want it to be tight, but you don't want to over tighten it. About like you would a regular spin-on oil filter is usually tight enough. At this point, we're ready to go around the other side of the machine and add the oil. Okay, we're back on the left-hand side of the machine. This is your engine oil fill. So it's right behind your lower radiator hose, right in front of your breather tube. There's your distributor and your engine oil dipstick. Turn about a half a turn, it comes off. Some of them will have a little chain attached. This one hasn't, at least as long as I've owned it. Set your funnel in there. If you're using small quart cans, you really don't need a funnel. These bigger ones, it does help out. These machines take 5 quarts of oil. I use a 1030. And to close this back, just align the little tabs there with these openings. You turn it about half a turn, 3/4 of a turn, and then check your oil level, which we are right there. Yep, we're good. The next thing we want to do while we're over here on this side of the engine is to clean out our fuel filter. Now this thing has two fuel filters. It has one here, which is a glass bowl. So it comes in to the center here, and the fuel fills this bowl up, and all your sediments and dirt and everything settle on the bottom. So you got just a little bit there, and this is after about a year of running. And then the fuel going down to the carburetor comes back out of the top, and all your clean fuel will have floated to the top, and all your water and your sediment will be down here on the bottom. Now what I usually do is keep myself a little cup here just to catch any gas that's going to run out. First thing you want to do is turn this all the way off clockwise. Turns it off. I'm going to break this little nut loose. You never want to get it much. Oh, got a little bit of gas running out here. You never really want to over tighten this because you'll break that little glass bowl. And you back that little nut off. Okay, this thing, the valve on this thing isn't working. See, I still got gas running out. We will either have to rebuild this one, or honestly, I'll probably just buy a new one. We'll install it. I want to get one that has a quarter turn off and on anyway, so you're not constantly having to crank and crank and crank on it. But see how that gas is running out? It should not be doing that. It shouldn't be anything coming out of it. It should definitely not be filling that bowl back up while I've got the valve off. But normal operation, you just open this up. Crack a little bit, let the air out, and it'll fill back up. It lets all the air out of it. And you just tighten it back down and turn it back off. And you're ready for another season of work. So now that we've got this changed out, let's go on the other side of the tractor, right side of the tractor, and we'll service the air filter. Okay, so this machine uses an oil bath air filter. And how this works, your air comes in here, comes down through the center of the unit, and there's oil down here, just motor oil down here. And the air comes down. It doesn't really go through the oil, but it causes the oil to foam. And it pulls it up into this steel mesh. You see this line right here. From here down, there's a steel mesh in here, and that oil gets up in that mesh. And as the air flows through it, going down to your carburetor, this line here goes down to your carburetor, the dirt particles and everything in your air will stick to that oil, and then when you turn the machine off and everything drips back down to this cup, it brings the dirt and grime with it, and it will settle in the bottom here. So you don't have to buy an air filter to service this. And it's very easy to do. You just undo this band right here. And there's the dirty oil in the bottom. You just pour it into your used oil. And I've been staying on top of it pretty good. I got a little bit of grime right down in here, but nothing too bad. Now, I am going to confess, I have cleaned this in the prior 25 hours since I've rebuilt this engine. In fact, I usually do this not every time a bush hog, but about every 2 or 3 times, just because it's so dusty and I'm kicking up so much dirt. I don't want to take a chance on getting any of that nastiness into my new engine. But just same thing, you just clean everything out. We'll take a look at that steel mesh here in just a second. Now the reason that I said to use conventional motor oil here, I tried it twice with synthetic 1030. I had bought I think it was 2 jugs and for something else, and I had a little bit left over. And I said, well, instead of running to town to get the conventional, I'll just use synthetic. And it actually sucked the synthetic oil up through there, and I actually was blowing blue smoke, and I thought the engine was blowing up, and had a couple sleepless nights after I put all the money into this thing. And I went out to check the air cleaner. Noticed there wasn't much oil in it. It had sucked it all out, or most of it out, through the engine. And so I changed it back to a conventional motor oil, and the problem went away. Now this is the only experience I've ever had putting synthetic motor oil in an oil bath cleaner, so I don't know if it was just a coincidence or if that's just something you can't do. And if you've had any experience with it, please chime in below. I'd like to hear about it. Okay, so here we are at the bottom of the oil bath. We got this screen here. What's that right there? That's just a piece of screen sticking down. But that's what so your air comes in through here, through the oil in the cup, and foams that oil up, and it goes up in here and it coats this screen, and the air goes up through this screen to this tube down to your carburetor. Incidentally, here is the little screen for the gas going to the carburetor. We'll pull that out and clean it when we put the other glass bulb unit in on the other side. Alright, I don't know if y'all can hear that on the camera or not, but we got a nasty storm coming, so we might finish this up pretty quick. I'll have to come back and finish shooting this another day. But you look up inside of here, you got these little holes. Sit this down. Got these little holes right here. There's one. There's one. If you have this sitting flat and you fill up this centerpiece, it'll flow around to the outside so you have the right level of oil all the way around the cup. And there's also this little embossed line here that'll tell you how much oil to put in this thing. And I don't think it takes quite a quart, but just pour your oil in. There we go. And it's up to that line. Here's the inside cup there. You can actually see it with the line on the outside. And all you do is just sit this back up on here. You put your clamp down, back over it, make sure it's sitting down all the way. You don't want it to not be holding part of it, and let the dirt bypass the cup. You want it to make sure it's going through that oil on its way to the carburetor. And I say going through the oil, you've already established, it's not actually going through the oil, it's just causing it to foam. You just want to snug this down with your fingers. Make sure it's sitting flat. And that's it. So in, 15 minutes time, we've changed the oil, serviced the oil filter, changed the gas filter, at least one of them, and serviced the air cleaner. And outside of this, you're good for another, I think it's 50 hours. I usually change mine about once a year, so I put about 25-30 hours on it a year typically. But that's it. Other than having to buy an oil filter and your oil, that's it. You can actually, service this real easy in your shop. One morning, don't have to go buy an air cleaner. If you get some dirty gas, you can service your gasoline filter or your sediment bowl in the field. You don't have to go buy it. You don't even need tools to do it. So yeah, very, very simple to service. So I'll get us a new, I'll get a new glass bowl to put on this thing, and before I release the video, we'll circle back around, we'll put that on, and then we'll pull the screen here on the side of the carburetor. And then, this thing will be ready to run. Actually, I'm probably going to run it some this week while I'm waiting on that glass bowl to come in. Alright, so here we are about a week later. I've already taken the old fuel bowl off of it, drained the gas out of the tank. I had about a gallon in there. I had ran it down pretty close to dry before I started. So here's the new one, at least the top of it. Now the whole assembly is, you have a screen and a gasket that goes here. You've got your glass fuel bowl and the little wire that goes across. We'll put all that together here in a minute. Now I had said earlier that these were about $24 brand new. And if you're getting something off like Amazon, eBay or something, that's about right. But I'm tired of these things not lasting, so I actually went to my Massey Ferguson dealership, and they're about $50-$55 after taxes, but you can feel this thing. It weighs a lot more than the other one. And also, this one is 2 turns to open up all the way from close, where the other one was 4, 5, 6 turns. You had to crank forever, and it never did feel like it really sit right or closed off. It felt cheap. This one just feels a lot better. So we're going to put this in. We're going to remove our fuel line all the way down to the carburetor and clean the screen out. Alright, so to put this thing on, first thing you want to do is make sure you have a petroleum rated PTFE thread tape. Now this came from my local shop. I'm sure you can pick it up anywhere. You put this stuff on. You want to make sure that it goes in the direction that it's going to be threading up in there. So basically I hold the tape, turn this clockwise, so that's the way it's going to go up into the fuel tank, and that way you don't unravel the tape when you're installing it. And about 2 turns is all you need. It doesn't take much, and this stuff, once the gas hits it, it actually forms almost like a here's some on the stuff that came off of it. You know, like that blue Loctite? It almost looks like that by the time that the gas hits and it's been up in there for a while. So all we do is just thread it up into the tank. And it takes an 11/16 inch wrench on the top here to thread it up all the way. So I'm going to get that threaded up in there, and then we'll go on to the other side of the machine and we'll take our fuel line loose. Now, so here we are back over at the carburetor, and here's the fuel line here. And when you route this, you want to make sure you keep it away, as far away from your exhaust manifold as you want to. You make sure you come up underneath the exhaust manifold all the way from the back. As heat rises, you don't want this getting too awful hot, so you keep it down below the manifold as much as you can. And this is just a piece of brake line. That's what I make all of my fuel lines on these out of. And you want to make sure when you put the flare on the brake line that you do a double flare like you do when you're doing a brake line. So you have to have the kit that'll first bubble it out and then make the flare, so your flare is actually double thick. And to remove the screen off the carburetor, I thought it was a 1/2 inch. Let's just grab an adjustable. And there's your little screen. See all that nastiness up in there? Now I'm going to take this down to the shed, and I'm going to take an air hose and blow all that out, and come back, we'll reassemble it. Alright, so got it clean. Just shot a little bit of carburetor cleaner down through it, blew through it. It looked like it was a lot more in there than it actually was. It was actually just a little very fine, almost like a film in it. So this one tends to leak a little bit, so I'm going to put a little bit of tape around this one as well. Normally you don't have to, and you want to make sure that you don't over tighten this, because you can actually split that part of the carburetor right there. And if you're running more than one machine, I know we had some Wisconsins, and we was running 4 or 5 pieces of equipment that used this same little filter size. We would keep an old those little glass baby food jars, about half full of carburetor cleaner, and we just always have one that was ready to go. So what you want to do now after you clean it is just fish your fuel line back up to where it goes. Start your thread down here, and then start your thread on the back of the fuel shut-off valve. Tighten everything up, and then I'll meet you back over on the other side. Alright, so we got the fuel shut off on, we got the gas line hooked up to it. So it's time to put the screen and the gasket back up in it. And I'm going to show you using the old one. So this is what it looks like up inside. You lay this screen in here, and that is just an extra little screen before it goes out to your fuel, which the opening's right there. Put your gasket in. Then your fuel bowl goes right there. And then you have your wire that goes over it and a little nut that holds it up on the bottom. Alright, so I put about a gallon of gas in it. That's 2 turns. See how it's filling up? Just snug it up. And there we go. Got a new fuel filler, new fuel bowl assembly on it. Okay guys, so that's the video. I really wasn't expecting to have to put a fuel bowl assembly on it, but haven't really seen that on the video, on the YouTube a lot, so not a bad thing that we covered that, I guess. I have 2 more videos I really want to shoot on this tractor this year, and then I really want to move on to something else. One video is just going to be general maintenance, the grease points, what I keep in the toolbox, what I keep in the first aid kit and where I keep that, and I'm putting a new set of headlights on it, so something a little bit more efficient, a little brighter. And then the video after that, or might come first, I'm not sure yet. I'm sorry about the cars going up and down the road. It's busy. It's a Saturday. I can't help it. I'm going to do the vacuum tuning on the engine, and a real quick field troubleshooting guide that you could actually just make on a piece of note card or something and keep in your toolbox, just to help you troubleshoot little things in the field when these machines don't want to act right. So as always, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time under the shed.